Hello, everybody. We have Dr. Arvind Bodhankar amongst us. He is the Chief Risk Officer and Executive Director at Dalmia Cement. Hello, sir, and welcome to BW Businessworld.
Thank you, Urvi and BW TV for inviting me for the conversation on such an important topic like ESG and risk.
Yes, ESG, sustainability, these are the buzzwords, and more so since the last 2.5 years and now bordering on 3, given that we have realized how important health of the individual as well as the planet is so important. So taking our conversation ahead from that topic, Dalmia Cement has ambitious CO2 reduction targets, which is of course a great thing, but at the same time, it's an extremely ambitious one. So you as the CRO, how are you planning to take the company forward and what are the targets?
Yeah, but before I respond to your question, all of us know that climate change is one of the significant risks. And it is not only a risk for my own organization, but it is a risk for the entire planet. There are physical and transitional upshots of this particular risk. As an organization, we have decided that we would like to be carbon negative by 2040. And as you said, that this is a really ambitious target or a stretch target, especially when a lot will depend on technology, a lot will depend on some of the policy enablers, a lot will depend on climate finance. Yet we have prepared a roadmap for this. And I'm very happy to share with you that since we had decided for this, or since we have pledged for this, we have achieved almost 9.8% reduction in our CO2 footprint. That way, we have actually surpassed the targets which we have set for ourselves for the year 2025. We are also working on a lot of government and non-governmental organization on the policy and public advocacy. You asked about my role as a Chief Risk Officer. So my role as a Chief Risk Officer is very much exciting, at the same time challenging also. I had to keep track of all the climate-related emerging risks, work closely with the leadership team as well as the operations team to develop the mitigation plan and track the implementation of that plan. And at the end, ensure that there is no business interruption arising out of this particular risk.
Okay, since we're on the topic of sustainability, a corresponding burning issue is ESG compliance with companies. So what is Dalmia doing in that direction, and can you give us some examples?
So compliance is bare minimum for us, and we are going much beyond the compliance. We have adopted the ESG frameworks. There are multiple frameworks available. We have been disclosing our financial and non-financial performance as per the Dow Jones Sustainability Index requirements, as per the Global Reporting Initiative requirement, as per the United Nations Global Compact's requirement, and also CDP and many other frameworks are there. This year onwards, we'll also be disclosing as per the TCFD requirement, which is the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. We are one of the few companies who have been disclosing as per the business responsibility and sustainability report standards, which has been recently introduced by SEBI. And actually, we are supposed to comply with that from the financial year 22-23, when the results are out. But as an organization, we had decided that we'll voluntarily do it much before that, and we actually started disclosing last year itself. We have also subscribed to Global Cement and Concrete Association. We are a member of Global Cement and Concrete Association, and we have been disclosing our performance on climate change, our performance on health and safety, our performance on other environmental parameters as well.
Okay, so given that these compliances and outlook is on point, but how do you plan to integrate the ESG strategy with the overall corporate strategy of Dalmia Cements?
Good question. So if you look at our leadership vision, in fact, our leadership is quite committed to ESG. The 2040 carbon negativity target, what we have set, no other industry in India has done it. Not only in India, but globally also, because 2040, as I said, is a stretch target. And especially for the cement sector, where there are a lot of process-related emissions. When there are emissions related to fuel or fossil fuel, we can do that. But there are a lot, 60% emissions are related to the process. In spite of that, we have taken this challenge and we said that we will comply, we'll achieve this target. So that itself shows the commitment of the management. And so we also believe that clean and green is profitable and sustainable. And this belief has actually translated into our strategy. So whatever we do, we look at it from the lens of sustainability or lens of ESG. And we make sure that whatever decisions we are making or whatever steps we are taking, there is no significant adverse impact of that on the environment, on the planet, or on the community.
Given that these strategies are, of course, noble and in line with what is the current requirement in the world, but how do you see this having an impact on Dalmia's risk profile overall?
So I told you about our strategic focus, and due to our strategic focus on ESG, we have not only made a commitment of carbon negative by 2040, but also made a lot of commitments like RE100, which is we'll have renewable energy 100%. We'll double our energy productivity in 15 years stock time. We'll be almost 20 times water positive by 2025. A lot of waste utilization we are doing. And all these initiatives have actually improved the trust of the stakeholders in our organization. And because of this trust and because of these initiatives, our ESG scores have improved. And this has actually resulted in improving our risk profile as well.
Right. Since we're talking about an improved risk profile, it has a direct positive impact on the economy of the company. So talking about the wider economy, what do you see are the main risks for Dalmia Cement Limited, and how is ESG helping to curtail these economic risks?
So whether it is Dalmia Cement, whether it is any other cement company, there are few inherent risks like raw material security, climate change, environment, health and safety. And this exists for Dalmia Cement as well. However, when you have a robust framework and governance mechanism, you can actually control this risk and bring it down to a level of acceptable level. And as I earlier also mentioned, a lot of focus we have on alternate fuel that is actually leading to raw material security. A lot of focus is there on health and safety that is actually leading to improved health and safety numbers. We have very few accidents happening and almost like a zero. And we also do keep engaging with the community. We also have a lot of skill development programs. We also have a lot of programs on health and education. That is actually really helping us on risks related to community or any outcry happening from the community.
Okay, so given that ESG is not just environment, one very often ignored pillar is governance. When we talk about environment, social and governance, which is ESG, of course. And given that fact, what are the corporate governance challenges that you are facing currently at Dalmia Cement? Because we're, of course, living in a very dynamic time where some people are working from home, some are returning to home, and it's also a time of inflation. So given this fact, what are the challenges at a corporate level that you are overcoming right now?
I can tell you, I work with many organizations, and some of them were really best as far as corporate governance is concerned. And I would say the benchmark or the ideal one. DCBL has also, many best practices as far as corporate governance is concerned. We have an independent director chairing the board. Almost 50% of the DCBL directors are independent, and which is actually over and above the requirement set by under the Companies Act. Most of the board committees, I would say, are also chaired by the independent directors. We have code of conduct policies in place and practices also in place. To say, we can say that information security is one area I think we need to work upon, and I am working closely with the IT team over here to bridge that gap and come out with a robust information security management system.
Right, information security and cyber security and the like are burning topics again, just like ESG.
I wouldn't say a major this thing. I mean, we did not have anything, but I'm working closely. That's one area I thought is an area of improvement.
Right. It's always great to see that the first step towards improvement is acknowledgement of the issue. So we are headed in the right direction. So having said that, moving ahead with the conversation, I wanted to ask you that the Indian economy is supposed to be on a path of rebound now, with shops opening up and people heading back to work. So what are your plans for Dalmia henceforth, and what do you have of your vision for the company as a leader?
So we are already experiencing the economic rebound, as you mentioned. This is not only after the pandemic, but overall also, if you see government's increased spending on infrastructure is really providing a stimulus to cement industry. You might have heard about the Gati Shakti project of the government, or government has committed 1.4 crore housing, affordable housing under the affordable housing scheme. 1.47 lakh crores will be spent on infrastructure, and this really will require a significant quantity of cement. And so this is definitely translating into the growth for the cement industry. We are expecting a double-digit growth for the cement industry very soon. And we have obviously put up a growth plan, and we will be about 130 million tons by 2030.
Yes, you have made an interesting point that the government is spending a lot on infrastructure, which is true. Mm-hmm. But we also have the central government coming out with very elaborate plans for renewable energy, as we also saw in the budget this year. Mm-hmm. So having said that, how do you see the government's initiatives impacting Dalmia's ESG plans?
So, if you recollect, during our start of our conversation, I mentioned that we have committed for 100% renewable energy. That means by 2030, we will get rid of the conventional power or the power from the thermal power plant. The government's focus or the ambitious plan which they have put up is going to help us in meeting these targets what we have set. In fact, if you have heard our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the COP26 at Glasgow, and he has not only made a commitment of carbon neutral country by 2070, carbon neutral India, but he also committed for 520 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, installed capacity. And this will definitely help in easing out or coming out with the newer policies as far as renewable energy is concerned. Very recently, we had seen government has come out with the green hydrogen policy also. And all this is going to help Dalmia Cement in achieving the target which they have set.
Right. Of course, renewable energy is a very big agenda on the government and also for private enterprises. Having said that, it is not the only challenge that the government has posed for the cement sector, or the cement sector is facing at the moment. Having said that, what is your vision for Dalmia Cement henceforth? How do you plan to take on these challenges head on and emerge successfully?
Cement industry, particularly in developed country or in India, has lots of challenges. And the first challenge is definitely from the investors. Globally, investors are pushing a lot to the cement industry because they think that cement industry is a culprit or is an offender for the climate change. Cement industry contributes almost 7 to 8% to the global carbon pool. So with this CA100 or United Nations Principle of Responsible Investment, UNPRI and all. So all these members, the investors who are the members of this consortium, they are actually insisting cement industry to cut down on the CO2 emissions, then only the investment would happen. So there is a lot of pressure on cement industry from investors. We all know cement industry in fact, cement is the second largest material consumed on the earth after water. And naturally, to produce cement, a lot of natural resources are consumed, a lot of limestone mining happens. And when you consume natural resources, there is a possibility that you disturb the ecosystem. And because of that, community living may be impacted. So there is a pressure from community as well. Now, there is a pressure from investor, there is a pressure from community. Obviously, there will be a pressure from regulator also. And, while you have to tackle all these pressure, you also need to have a lot of, technological and policy related enablers to meet the climate change related target, the challenges. And obviously some cost will be, the capex will be required. While cement goes into the development of the country or for the affordable housing, there is a pressure on pricing also, because you can't increase the price and you can absorb the capex which you have spent on the technology or the other efforts you are taking. So there is a pressure from investors, there is a pressure from community, there is a pressure from the regulators, and there is a pressure on pricing also. So all these, challenges, it has become very, very difficult to deal with. But definitely, if you look at the Dalmia Cements performance in last couple of years or last few years, we have been very comfortably able to tackle these challenges. And this is because of the strategy what we have put in place. This is because of the commitment our promoters have. And the roadmap which I shared with you earlier, this is really helping us to tackle these challenges.
Right. So given that we are living in an era where new players are coming into the forefront, and we have new challenges which were not there, say, till 10 years ago, I would like to ask you, as an industry leader, as a CRO, what are the challenges and the changes you are seeing in corporate governance across the years when it comes to corporations and regulations?
I have been working, with the various corporates for last almost 30 to 33 years. And I was fortunate to, as I earlier also mentioned, I was fortunate to work with some of the best business houses who are known for corporate governance, ethics and transparencies. But in the last 1 decade, I had seen a lot of changes happening, especially after the rollout of 2013 Companies Act. We have seen a major shift in transparency. We have seen a major shift in the regulations. The regulations have become more stricter now. Earlier, independent director may be saying that they have a vicarious responsibilities, but today independent directors are being held accountable. Investors and stakeholders are expecting more and more transparencies. Even companies have responded very positively to all these demands from the regulators and from the stakeholders. And of course, those who ignore this, we know that they don't exist today. So a lot of change has happened in last 1 decade.
Right, transparency and emotional intelligence, EQ, and the like are supposed to be more important than IQ now, as modern literature of trainees goes. With that thought, I would like to take your leave for the day. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us and giving your thoughts on the plans for Dalmia Cements.
Thank you, Urvi. Thank you, BWTV. It was a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you.